Hey, it's Drybear. I'm making this video with just a little while until Season 1 starts, and someone had asked me to make a tier list of the classes going over where they are, where they stand, and where they will be at the start of the season going into Season 1, Season of the Malignant. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm just going to talk about all the classes, place them on a tier list together on screen, and you can see exactly where the classes are, and we'll go from there. But first, you should come hang out with me on my live stream. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/Drybear. If you do come hang out with me in the community, the next time you put on pants from the laundry, you'll find undiscovered and forgotten dollars. All right, since the season is starting soon, I want to get this video out and done so we don't miss the start, and that when we're at the line to start the race when the bell goes off. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rank and talk about all 5 of the classes and their current state of the game prior to Season 1. Now, keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of exploration and testing and innovation around all the new powers that are going into the game, the Malignant Hearts, and all of that. So this could very easily swap around once we get into the season and people start theory crafting and where everything is. So the way I'm going to base this tier list is around where they ended up after the patch 1.1, what they have available as Malignant powers, and how I think that's going to change their current state, what they look at for survivability and dealing with High Nightmare, Uber Lilith, and Varshan, as well as how they feel, level, experience. When I say leveling, I mean level 1 to 100. I'm not talking about just the first 10 levels or just the last 10, the overall experience and all of that. So we'll talk about all those things as we go into these classes, and we'll give a summary. A brief warning and just a heads up. I want to say this every time I make a tier list. Don't let anyone ever tell you how to enjoy a game. This is a tier list that is ranked relative to other classes, right? In a vacuum, each class has enough going for it that if you want to play it for the season, play it, have fun with it, enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of really cool explorations. And I think one of the most exciting parts about ARPGs is the challenge of overcoming obstacles, right? So even if you play something that's ranked lower here and it doesn't mean you can't clear all the content, there will be a way. You just might have to deal with some other headaches that other classes may not have to. And maybe all of this changes with a patch or a mid-season update along the way. So we'll see all that. But if you're interested in a class, don't let this tier list change your mind. Play what you want, enjoy what you want. That's what you go with. So we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. The bottom 2, in my mind, were very, very close. And I think they are the 2 classes that suffered the most from the patch 1.1 and in combination from not getting very much from the Malignant Hearts. So I'm going to put these in an order here. They could very easily be swapped, but this is my opinion on where they stand. I think that Sorcerer is C tier. The main reason for this is one of their best builds was kind of ripped a little bit in the last 1.1 patch. And they still, right now, like in patch 1.0.4, Sorcs had a major problem with survivability. They were very squishy. They would get one shot. If you pushed pat like Nightmare 80 to 100, if you blinked for a second on a Sorc, you would just melt away like the Wicked Witch of the West. It was very tough and very hard to survive. Now, keep in mind that the survival Malignant Heart that Sorc is getting is percent resistance, which is just going to be very inconsequential. I mean, I hope that the numbers they gave us on the first reveal a couple days ago was supposedly only supposed to be level 20. So maybe those go up to like 600% or 700% magic resist. And then maybe it's, decent, but it's got to be a silly number if that Malignant Heart is going to be worth anything, the spell breaking. But I put Sorc here mainly because I think they have a lot of challenges to overcome. Now, keep in mind, they still deal good damage. If you run one of the major builds, I think they have like 3 or 4 major builds that can be very viable. Firewall got even better in this patch. Ice Shards is fine. You can run Blizzard as well. You just want to have as much burst potential with Aspect of Control. There's a lot of really cool builds there that are in there, and you can play them. There's been some stealth buffs to like Incinerate and Fireball in the patch that they didn't even mention in the notes. So there could be some really cool things there. That being said, most of their Malignant Hearts to me aren't very impactful or interesting. They get some damage from Taurasha, and their Wrathful Super Heart allows them to shoot more projectiles. So maybe Lightning Ball or Frozen Orb or Fireball could be really cool, or maybe even Chain Lightning could be really cool in this with the new Overcharged Ultimate, especially if it gets crazy high damage and you shoot a bunch at once. Maybe even during Charged Currents, Chain Lightning might be really cool. So there's options there. But the main reason I'm putting them down at the bottom here is because Their Malignant Hearts before the start of the season are not overly interesting, and they don't seem to be fixing any of the core problems that Sorc has. And not only were they already squishy in 1.0.4, they are getting even squishier in 1.1 because all damage reduction went down, all total armor went down, health is a little bit harder to get. We're losing 750 armor from our jewelry. We also lost a big chunk from disobedience, so just be prepared to run like disobedience on your amulet for all Sorc builds. So that's where they're at right there. So that is Sorc. Still viable. I would just say that of all the classes, they have the most stacked against them going into Season 1. The next class is, I'm going to put a little bit higher, and these are the two classes that were right next to each other in the list when I was first making it, and that's going to be Barbarian. And actually for me, I was going to put Barbarian down here with C. I'm going to put it up at B. And the reason I want to do this is because I think Barbarian, while they still are in the struggle bus with Sorc, they're kind of near the exit. Like they're sitting near the door, and if the struggle bus ever stops for gas or cookies, they could bolt out and get off the struggle bus very easily. So you have that option there. And the main reason why I'm putting Barb here is because I think they do, while it may not be as flashy or may not be as fun for everybody or as wide mass appeal, I think Barb has the tools to overcome all of the obstacles in the game right now. They have the survivability that Sorc desperately wants. They can be very tanky. In fact, 2 of their Malignant Hearts for Season 1 are survival ones. Even their Wrathful Super Heart is a survival one. If that ends up scaling much higher than what we saw on the list they gave us, then Barb could be very, very tanky, very, very survivable, which could end up pushing them higher. Now, that being said, I would say that Barb got the most shafted when it came to Malignant Heart's new seasonal powers. I think most, if not all of their seasonal affixes, seasonal powers for Barbarian are very basic and honestly, in my subjective personal opinion, not that intriguing in any way. They're just very simple stat benefits. They're kind of survival defense things. There's nothing that like sparks a new build in my mind. Like, oh, I want to try that. That could be really cool. What if I put this with this? You know, like the theory crafting engine doesn't kickstart with the Malignant Hearts that Barbarian got. But I think for the reason that they still have a good leveling experience, relative, like once you get to level 50 and above, their starting level experience is probably tied with Druid with being the worst, but they ramp up in speed. And once you can have multiple skills on your bar and you start unlocking Paragon at 50 to 100 for Barb makes up for the 1 to 30 experience that they have as well. And the survivability as a tool for them, I think puts them above Sorc in general. And that is actually the line that I'm going to draw, and that every class that comes after here, I think, is in an amazing position for Season 1. No matter how they rank against each other, I think all of these classes have great viability, a ton of builds to choose from, excellent Malignant Hearts to choose from, some really cool new things that I'm excited to try out and experiment and theory craft in the new season. And they have, everything that they need to have a great time and succeed in Season 1. If that's something that you care about. So the one that I'm going to put next is actually going to be the Necromancer. This is my homie. I love Necromancer a whole lot, but I think that they are just a tiny bit below Druid and Rogue for Season 1 at the start. And I think that there's a few reasons for that. One is they're relatively slow. So if you're looking for speed farming, they don't keep up as well. But it's very possible that we could have ways to overcome this in the near future that help deal with that. But I think that Bone Spear is still very strong. They didn't really nerf Bone Spear enough. I actually think that all of the bone nerfs hurt Bone Spirit more than anything. I think Bone Spear is still very good. I'm actually worried that Bone Spirit went down 1 or 2 tiers because we lost lots of crit damage, lots of vuln damage, evulsion damage, and Grasping Veins got nerfed. And I feel like Bone Spear is a DPS, high uptake build, which means you're constantly doing damage. Bone Spirit, you need that one hit to be really, really high. And when you lose a bunch of scalers on a burst combo build, it starts to feel a lot weaker than a general DPS throughput build like Bone Spear. So that's my concern, is that like Demon Bomb and Critical Mass may have gone down more than Bone Spear, but I think everything else is looking good. Blood Surge, Blood Speaker's looking good. Blood Lance, Crimson Impaler is looking really strong. All of the shadow builds still look good. Undead Lord and Dark Emperor are looking really good as well. I think Necro has a lot going on for them this season. Some really cool malignant powers that auto curse or auto corpse detonate or auto corpse tendrils, which could be really cool. They also have some awesome, like their Wrathful Ultimate is, I think, like their superpower, their super malignant heart is what I think every class should strive for. It's super different. It's unique. It causes you to completely rework your build and has some really awesome implications for minion builds and non-minion builds. Like every build in the kit can benefit from it. And it just makes you think differently. And I think that's what the seasonal powers should be all about. So I think Necro, super strong. All survivability went down, but Necro still has ways to deal with it. Shielding Storm is still super strong. You can still use survival with your minions if you need to. You still have like blood healing, fortified, damage while fortified, and you still have blood mist, decrepify damage reduction. All of these are still available for you, so I think that makes them into a really, really good spot. Next is, for me, going to be Druid. So I think Druid is actually right in front of Necromancer here, but still in the same tier. So I would put Necro and Druid in A tier together, with Druid being slightly above, mainly because I think that most of the shortcomings that Necromancer has, Druid just doesn't have. Druid is in an amazing spot this season. Tons of viable builds. Almost none of their builds got nerfed enough for their current standings to change. So they're kind of in the same spot they were pre-patch. Like Rogue and Druid came out of the nerfs the strongest out of all the classes. I think they still are in a really, really good spot. Super survivable. The Bulwark build still stands. Bear is super survivable. You can still get lots of damage reduction. There's a lot of really new, interesting builds you could run with Poison Detonation on Debilitating, Roar, or Bloodhowl. You can also do the new Subterranean with the Blooming Onion Landslide that comes out of your Poison Creeper. Companions might be coming back with the new Unique. There's just a lot of really cool, or new Malignant Heart. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. I'm also very curious about this new Vortex Malignant Heart that pulls enemies in that are distant. There's so much going on here that could be really, really cool. And I think they also have insane build variety and diversity, so you can go through a lot of this. Unfortunately, like Barbarian, they have, I think Druid and Barbarian are the two worst leveling classes in the game. For the first 30, 40 levels, it's very slow. It is a slog. But once you get a full build online, they start speeding up and they actually beat some of these other classes going into later into the game, all the way up to level 100. And lastly, the main one, the one that I think came out on top, the winner of Season 1 patch, the 1.1 patch, is going to be Rogue. And I'm actually going to put Rogue into S tier. They are just so incredibly good right now. They not only did they come out of the nerfs kind of shining, they didn't really get anything major that really took away what they had. The big concerns about Rogue going into like Season 0 was mostly just they're just as squishy as like a Sorc. But the thing is, a lot of people did tons of theory crafting, and we found out ways to use dodge to insane efficacy for Rogue, because you already have so much dex and things like that. They can actually dodge incredibly often, avoiding damage a lot, and they can position really well. They have lots of really good CCs, and they can manipulate crowds very well. So they have lots of really good options there for survivability. So they can take on any kind of content in any way they want. They also have had, unlike any other class here, have had their build diversity go up with Season 1 and with patch 1.1. So Penetrating Shot is looking better than ever. Barrage is still looking good. Rapid Fire might be super interesting now because it got buffed and there's new options for it as well. So you have ranged options. Flurry still looks good. Twisting Blade still looks good. I really want to try a new Trap Saboteur build for Rogue because they got some new powers with the Malignant Hearts that do physical bombs. And they have like shadow clones that taunt enemies in and then blow up on top of your traps and everything. They've got all these crazy new powers that are just insanely cool that work for them. So I think Rogue is just in such a perfect spot for Season 1. Now, again, all of this could change going into like the first major patch or updates, or we may find that some Malignant Hearts scale better than others for some reason, so that when we get to like level 100, the Malignant Hearts that seem good now didn't scale very well, so they kind of fell behind. And that's kind of just one asterisk just there. But this is my tier list for the classes going into Season 1. Rogue in S tier, Druid and Necromancer in A tier, Barbarian in B tier, and then Sorc, unfortunately, in C tier for the start. But I'm very excited to see where these classes go and where these, as things develop and change over time as we move into the later parts of the season. So that's what I've got for you today. I wanted to pump this out really quick before the season started, so at least you had my thoughts before the season. And I might do like a mid-season update on where the classes stand after things have changed and been theory crafted and tested by the community, and we've discovered more things about it. If you found value in the video, leave a like down below. Leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people. And always come by my live stream. I'd be happy to chat with you there. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content. Link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.